All right, let's get this thing started. What's up, everybody? It's Ari, and I'm here hanging out with Lespecial. So excited to get to know these guys. It's a live listening party for their brand new album, Ancient Homies. Luke Bemand is here. Luke, what's up? Did I say your last name right?
Ari, you got it, bro. I have three pronunciations of it: Beamand, Bemand, Beamand. So you hit one of them, which is cool with me.
I'm going to let you introduce your guitarist, Johnny, because he's got the hardest last name out of all three of you.
Yes, sir. We have Johnny G, aka Jonathan Grisauskas, over here.
And then on drums, Rory Dolan is here hanging out. Guys, thank you for being here. Rory, what's up, man? How are you?
What's up, homies? Glad to be here.
All right. Well, I know you guys have been working real hard on this brand new album, and we're so thrilled to share it with everybody watching at home. And I'm psyched to get to know you guys. I want to start with the birth of Ancient Homies, okay? This record wasn't entirely made in quarantine. It goes a little bit farther back than that, right, Luke?
Yes, sir. Yeah. This album has been kind of the longest of a recording and writing process than any of our other albums. I would say, some of these songs have been in the process of being written and performed for the last 3 years. Some of them even beyond that. We have some older material that's here, but the last year solid has been knowing what this album is, and it's taken its Ancient Homies final form.
Well, you worked on it for 3 years. You guys have real fresh faces, okay? But the thing is, you've been a band for almost 15 years at this point, right? Rory, you guys, met in high school, middle school?
Yeah, the three of us in high school, and then Luke and I going back to middle school. Yeah, as early as 5th and 6th grade.
So you've been building that connection musically and learning together, growing together, writing songs for that entire duration, and it definitely sounds quite polished, I have to say. There's a lot of heavy influences. I had it cranked up this morning, and I think I scared my neighbors. Johnny, I want to talk to you a little bit about the guitar tones right now. We're going to get into it more later on, but what are some of your biggest influences?
Oh man, we're huge Primus heads. Like Rory said, they've been playing together since middle school. They had a dope Nirvana cover band. It was called Maggot 6, right?
That was our Slipknot cover band. The Nirvana cover band was Bliss.
Bliss. Another word for Nirvana.
Part of our DNA, the heavy guitar tones. So we also got to shout out the mixing engineer, David Sanchez, who plays in metal band Havoc, who did just a great job of helping really bring the oomph out on those. So I'm glad you heard that, Ari.
Yeah, now I want to just briefly set up a couple of the themes running through this record. The ancient, timeless sort of aspect, the otherworldly aspect, and Luke, the threes, right?
Yeah, the number 3 played a role in this album's inception, and just as almost a through line. It's always been a number that has had some kind of meaning for us. There you go. You got the tri-face right there. That's what we call our logo. We've been a power trio our whole life, and that has just kind of been a part of our identity. The concept of 3 equal parts making their whole is very much in our Lespecial lore. But this was our 3rd ever album. We've had EPs, live releases, but this to us felt like our 3rd real official album, with Omni Squid being the first and then Sheen. And so we felt like we needed to kind of pay homage to that. And then even more so, that number 3 just kind of kept coming up in different ways, even when we hadn't planned it or talked about it. A lot of music in America is written in 4 or 8 or 2 and multiples of 4. But for us, everything on this album kind of seemed to happen around 3. Phrases happened 3 times before they changed. We play a scale that has 3 notes that it's centered around that I'll get a little bit more into with the homie improvs. And we've got these 3 homie improvs that are on tracks 3, 6, and 9. So some of it was planned, and some of it just kind of happened more organically. And, trips for life.
Yes. Now, if you were going to tell me what 3 sonic references or reference points we had to use as benchmarks for this album, what do you think those would be?
You mean sonically, like 3 specific artists or bands?
Artists or songs or soundscapes or, anything.
Yeah, I guess, it depends a little bit from person to person with all of us. I could say 3 big sonic influences overall on the record would be Tool. Tool putting out their new album, Fear Inoculum, was something that we were listening to a lot when we were working on this. Like Johnny said, Primus is just always there. That's just a part of our DNA. But also, I would say 9 Inch Nails, and kind of, we saw them, we got to see them a couple times on their last tour. and that sonically and just Trent Reznor and involving some of these more electronic components and also cinematic and film score components and those kind of things. So I would say those are three bands that are definitely helped kind of compose some of the inspiration for this.
Awesome. Well, what you guys came up with is totally unique sounding. I can hear all those things in this record, but it's a band that definitely sounds like it's been together for over a decade, firing on all cylinders. The soundscapes are huge. They're ominous, and they sound amazing. And we're psyched to listen to the entire record with all of you guys watching at home. Before we get to track one, though, we got a real quick message from Greg. You might know him from Pigeons Playing Ping Pong.
One time our manager called me and he's like, Greg, Pigeons have some huge shows coming up. Lots of Jam fans will be there, and I think we should invite Lespecial to join us. And I'm like, why?
first curious.
What's up, everybody? Uncle Mike from Aqueous here. Wanted to drop in and congratulate the Lespecial guys on their new album, Ancient Homies. It's amazing. They're one of the most unique acts in the jam scene and in music in general, and I'm so happy for them. Quick memory I wanted to share. I remember when Lespecial opened for Aqueous for one of our tours. On the last night of tour, Luke came up and started freestyle rapping over just some improvised beat that we were doing. And he was talking about paying for Cliff Bars with his debit card and not setting his dog on fire. And it was amazing because the crowd was very freaked out. Much love to you guys. Congrats on the album. Take care.
What a guy, Mike Ganzer from Aqueous. Here we are. We're in the midst of the Lespecial Ancient Homies live listening party. It's your first chance to hear the new Lespecial album. I'm Ari, here kicking it with this power trio. Snell's Fleet, The Vessel, which I love, and Homie Numero Uno, The Craft. Luke, that's an improv that you guys captured?
Yeah, when we were recording at one of the various studios that we did the Ancient Homies sessions in, Potterville Sound, we just got to kind of have these late night improv sessions. We camped out in the studio, literally like had my sleeping bag like under a grand piano. And we got to just kind of do some late night improv and get into some of just messing around with some of the ideas and musical vocabulary and vibes of these tracks, and didn't really have a plan for it. And we kind of just sifted through all this improvised music we had for a while and tried to kind of plan out how we would fit them into this story and like weave them into this narrative. And I'm really happy with how they all came out. They're all improvised, but they all have, like I said, this musical vocabulary, this kind of scale. We call it the Snell scale. And it deals kind of with groups of threes. It's got like a root note, and then a half step above, which would be a flat 2, and then a half step below, which would be a major 7. So it has a ba 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 ba, and that kind of like dissonance and just weird tonality is a vibe throughout this album. And so when we were improvising, we were trying to use that kind of scale and the tones. And so, and obviously you heard it, it's kind of a callback or reprise to The Vessel, and it has some of those sounds in it. And so that was kind of important. If we were going to include improv and like experimental improv at that, it needed to have some kind of, continuity with the rest of the tracks. And I'm really glad that we decided to include them on the album, and they really helped like weave this narrative throughout the album.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's super cinematic as well. I mean, it paints a picture. You've got that, like you said, that the minor vibe and the major vibe that you can touch on throughout that. Johnny, that must be a super fun thing to play within.
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed to be able to be in a band that can try so many. I mean, we have so many influences, so to be able to explore all these different textures and sounds. The sound guy might not be thrilled always. We're a hard band to mix, but no, it's great. We like to explore for sure.
And you guys aren't afraid to get creepy and weird at all and scare the bejesus out of people's ears. I mean, I'm telling you, when I was listening through the album this morning, it was the first time that my toddlers didn't come down into my studio here in weeks, because they were probably terrified in a good way. I mean, they'll ask me about it later, but you guys really paint a picture. Rory, what's it like to fuse those programmed elements and the live drums?
It's something that's been kind of organic for years. The first time that I got one of those drum pads, the Roland SPDS, was probably 8 years ago. And I just started incorporating it into my setup, kind of influenced by not only what Luke mentioned, like Nine Inch Nails, but guys like maybe like Chris Myers from Humphreys McGee, who integrates it very well into his setup. And I would keep it over here, like as if it was on the drum set to the left of the hi-hat, and think about it just as like an integration to the acoustic set and not so much a separate element. So kind of having that kind of just holistic view of it and just like hybridizing the setup made me kind of not even separate the two worlds as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Does the approach in a cinematic sort of mind frame apply to the drum parts that you're coming up with? Because it really feels like an adventure, beyond a song when you guys are in the middle of a musical piece.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that has to do with a lot of influences, be it musical or maybe like cinema and film. Like, we're all big fans of film and art in general. Um, Luke and I are very much into horror movies and sci-fi movies, and not that John's not, but we're kind of the horror movie buffs. So all those influences certainly bleed into what we do musically. And then also to that point, just having such various influences musically kind of helps me paint a picture and tell a story, you know?
What was it like creating that live score on Halloween? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. Like Rory said, yeah, I mean, we're horror boys. We all love film and cinematic film scores and music scores in general. We're all very big into like Johnny Greenwood and Trent Reznor, and artists that we love their band so much, and seeing them go on to expand into the cinematic universe has been really inspiring and something that we've always wanted to delve further into. So this Dr. Caligari live score was kind of our first real foray as a band doing it, and it was a really cool experience. Just working at the music cellar at our studio, watching this movie, integrating different sounds we wouldn't normally have in Lespecial, like pizzicato strings and melodica and mandolin and these instruments that
Glockenspiel.
the Glock, like that wouldn't normally be in a Lespecial set, but now we find all these different ways to utilize it. So it was great working on it, and then when it got brought to life, it was really incredible to see. Our visual and lighting guy, Vin Pugliese, did an incredible job, VFX design, with 3 screens playing the movie with all the lights that were totally in sync with like the color palette of the movie and things like that. And it was a great experience and something we'd love to be able to do again.
Yeah,
And do you,
it was
yeah, go
probably
ahead,
one.
Roy.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry to cut you off. It was probably one of my favorite things we've done, like live performance wise, to this date. So that's always good.
Do you think that it's kind of influencing how you write songs? That's that cinematic approach, because the songwriting on this record goes in a lot of different directions, and it's anything but sort of formulaic, you know?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Film scores are super inspiring for me. I've been studying film scores for a long time at Berkeley. It was a focus of mine as well. And a lot of the times I don't even pay attention to dialogue in a movie. I'm just like listening to the music. But yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate to play in a band with people that can create these kind of soundscapes. I think Johnny has some sounds on guitar on this album that don't sound like a guitar at all. Like even Snell's Fleet, that sound at the beginning, we call it the Snell siren, and it's
Yep.
just kind of this ominous sound. So we're really fortunate for that, and Johnny can talk a little bit about that. But his whole soundscape and everything he's doing really allows us to break out of the mold of a guitar, bass, and drum trio.
Exactly. Johnny, you got to tell us about those soundscapes, man.
Well, I mean, a guitar is there's so much baggage as an instrument. You pick up a guitar and you're holding like decades of history, and it's a beautiful, glorious history, but like you got to also push and try to reimagine it. And like Luke mentioned, Johnny Greenwood, I mean, he'll do things where he'll hold a fret and wiggle the string back and forth with a ton of reverb, and it sounds like a symphony more. So yeah, we love to just explore that palette and have fun with it. The pedals are as much of a tool in an instrument as the guitar itself.
So that's what it comes down to, the pedals. I mean, you must be doing something with your hands too. I mean, the approach on as far as not just notes, but seriously, I mean, you make a great point, Luke. Like, the soundscapes are not what you would think of bass, drums, and guitar. Johnny, you got to give us a little bit more on some of your secrets and how you get some of these sounds on the record.
Just lots of delay pedals.
Okay.
Lots of petals.
Lots of pedals.
Lots of
Mars Volta was huge for us when we were first getting together, and
Oh yeah.
I remember Omar Rodriguez Lopez from Mars Volta saying, "You can never have enough delay pedals."
Well, I'm glad he did, because you've taken that and you've run with it. Man, I wish that Mars Volta would get back together one of these days. Can we just like throw that into the ether for a second?
I
ran
think
into John Theodore at a Tool concert, actually.
Yeah.
He told me, he's like, yeah, I think those guys are getting back together. He said something like that.
but maybe not with him. They should just do it with him again.
You
He
heard
was
it
my
here
favorite.
first. They're getting back together.
Oh my goodness.
now
throw
they
you
have
guys
to.
throw you guys on that tour. Let's go. 2022.
Man,
Let's
we
do
would
it.
love to. We were just talking the other day. We only got to see them twice. We saw them in Worcester at the Palladium headlining, and then Rory and I saw. I don't know if you were there, Johnny Wooden. They opened for System of a Down, also
DCU
in
Center.
Worcester at DCU Center. It was like 45 minutes of Mars Volta, and then like 2 hours of System of a Down. Great show, but Mars Volta packed more energy and
Oh my
sound
God.
and just dynamic performance in that 45 minutes than I've probably ever seen.
Yeah, they're incredible. It's one of those bands that everybody at SiriusXM can get behind and loves and geeks out on, no matter what genre. Even all the rock nerds from the various places and corners of the music universe can appreciate that artistry. Let's see here. We got more of this record to get to. All right, but before we do, I think we got a little word from Billy from Papadosio.
Hey, what's up? It's Billy from Papadosio, and I've known the Lespecial guys weren't a jam band since probably 98. And like, you know, Johnny covers Crash in the Green Room, and that's not a jam band song, so this isn't a jam band song either. I would know.
Your decision to wait your turn for an I suggest that we spread out and try to determine the size and shape. Right. Spread out, everybody. We're going to try to figure out the shape of this thing.
The Boys. I mean, what can you say about The Boys? I was pretty bummed when I found out another record was being made without me, the other member of the band. But you know what, guys? It's all good. I know this is about Ancient Homies. I haven't been there the whole time. I do recall a bunch of tunes that I found out about that you guys just don't play anymore. You know I've been giving you shit about that for a long time. Let's get them going, huh? This new music is cool and everything. Let's get the ancient tunes back. The ancient melodies. Ancient harmonies, if you will. Let's get it going. But, yeah, great record, guys. Can't wait to play some guitar on it sometime. You know, in a live setting once the COVID goes away. We'll see you then.
It was awfully nice of Fro to jump in here as we hang out with Lespecial. It's Ari, kicking it with Luke, Johnny, and Rory, the Ancient Homies listening party. First time internet premiere for all of you guys. Man, this is so much fun. This is great. I'm so stoked. We got a whole lot more music to get to, but I got more questions, guys. Where are we on the triptych here? We just listened to Homie Numero Dos, the cryptic triptych. So, Luke, where are we on the triptych right now?
So this would be, if we were looking at a triptych, which is a 3-panel painting, this would be the centerpiece. You know, yeah, for these homie interludes, we had just been calling them Homie Numero Uno, Homie Numero Dos, Trace. But when we were talking about like what their parenthetical titles would be, we were kind of going back and forth and talking about different themes for the album. Cryptic Triptych was just something that I really liked, that really kind of stuck with me. Cryptic was a word that I feel like fits the vibe and the aesthetic of what that song was and that kind of modality. And I mean, it's, to me, that kind of Homie Numero Dos feels like landing on a new planet and just like exploring the new vegetative state, or all of being in a new plane, or a new vibe, and just kind of that exploration. But Triptych, you know, this was the middle piece. And you know, it just kind of trips, dude. You know, it just fit with the three theme. So yeah, that's where we're at.
Did you guys know that you had 3 improv segments for this? Like when you were going through tape and listening back to things, were there 3 segments that jumped out as these interludes? How did you select those 3 pieces of music for these spots?
I think that they were like, you know, when we first were going through this improv, it was just big sessions. And so we would sit in Johnny's apartment or in our studio and just kind of go through in Ableton and, oh, we like that, and grab that. And it turned into 3 songs again, like kind of not really, you know, deliberately. It just happened that we have these 3 different ideas. Like the Homie Numero Uno was the first one where that we're like, okay, that's a beat, that's a track, that sounds like some Radiohead Amnesiac shit. Like we were all about that. And then they all kind of each had their own identity, and so it was the question of how much of this song do we want to keep in there, how much of it, you know, what's the point of this track? It's an improv interlude. You know, interludes on albums can go, you know, either way. Sometimes I love them and they're incredible and they give the album a voice and a vibe, and sometimes it's like, that was just you like tuning a guitar. Like, why did you put that on the album? So I didn't want that to happen with these. But no, it kind of just happened naturally, and each one kind of became its own thing. Whereas like we'll listen to Homie Numero Trace. That's definitely the craziest one. And that's the one we kind of went back and forth on the most, like how much of this like insane improv do we want to keep in there? But that one, part 2 there, felt definitely more like a bit more cohesive, kind of like an actual song to us.
Yeah, otherworldly for sure. Now, Johnny, I want you to tell me a little bit about Repeater. Talk to me about vocals versus instrumentals, how you guys decide on whether or not to add vocals to a track.
I think when we started, we were largely more instrumental, and you know, vocals have slowly kind of become more and more prevalent. It's sort of just the music sort of writes itself. Sometimes you don't start with that intent necessarily always. We're actually working on a new song already now where it started as like a riffy kind of unison riff, heavy, could have been instrumental, but we're actually now messing with putting lyrics on it, and it's kind of a cool hybrid sound. So really whatever serves the song and the vibe.
And how do you come up with lyrics, any of you guys? But we'll start with you, Johnny.
I kind of jot things down in my phone, like things that sound cool and things that have a vibe, and I sort of just compile those, and then when I need stuff for a song, I can sort of parse through it and maybe find stuff that's cohesive. Sometimes it's, you know, song by song, you just sit down and you write stuff for a song specifically. But I heard Rivers talking about that. Like he has spreadsheets apparently, like on Google Docs, where he'll overhear something at his kid's birthday party, or he'll just write that down. Then so he has these spreadsheets of phrases, which I thought was a cool idea. I think Tom York does the same. He just has notebooks of kind of just vibes. And we mentioned the Mars Volta, great example of a lyricist who he's not necessarily telling a specific literal story, but he's painting a picture with just bizarre adjectives and environments and imagery.
Was there any convincing that had to be done to get vocals on the board originally? Is there a bit of a back and forth with you guys, or is it something that everybody's into in the right spots?
I might have suggested vocals on Tonberry, and we didn't go for that, which I don't think it needed. But
yeah, we had talked about it for Tonberry. I think it's true. I think it's organic. I love Johnny's vocals, so I'm always down to include vocals on songs.
Me too.
Sometimes they really can take our songs and the music to a new level. I remember like Repeater specifically. Now I guess everyone's heard Repeater. That's so cool. I've been waiting for people to hear it for so long.
Oh yeah.
That was a song that Johnny sent us a demo that last winter or maybe the year before. I want to say this has been like 2 years or so. This song, but you know, we've never played it live, and it was a song that Johnny had a demo for and sent us to. And I remember hearing just being like, "This is a really cool song." And it was cool to write a song in a different way, where a lot of times we write music when we're together and rehearsing, and then we develop it on the road and on tour. And obviously that hasn't happened as much this year, but even so, Repeater was a song even when we were on tour, but it was something we kind of wanted to just develop organically and not really rush and not make it a live staple. And so it kind of impacted the way we wrote the song. And it ended up being, I think, one of our favorite tracks on the album, maybe because it's just different in that sense.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes sense for sure. I'm curious what you guys ended up doing once the pandemic broke out for this record, if anything. Was it done? Was it in the can, or were there things that needed to get tracked? How'd you go about doing it, if so?
No, it was just like demos, man. We had just been piecing things together. We didn't even have like a name for it. We had different names, different concepts. And then, but it, like I said, it's kind of been this like amorphous album that's slowly come, to fruition, where I think the time off the road really allowed us to put everything down and get all our ducks in a row and kind of realize like the identity of this album and what we want to do with it. So It was nice to have that time to really work on it. I mean, when we were on our fall tour last year, we had been writing and talking about this album, but the extra time I think gave us that kind of like that maybe like introspective space to really finish it.
Was there a lot of sending parts back and forth and tracking on your own and hitting record on your own and kind of picking up new roles along the way since March?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think more. We've also been fortunate to be in a bubble together. We were on tour when COVID broke out, and like so we all went home. We all quarantined for a few weeks, and then we started getting together, and only here and there, and still doing distancing and all that. But fortunately, we've been in our own bubble, which a lot of other bands haven't had that opportunity. So we're really blessed to be able to have gotten together and not live that far away where travel restrictions get in the way. So we were able to write and just be really creative together, more than we would have typically when we would just be on the road constantly and then get home and like lie face down on our beds for like 3 days and then like peel ourselves off to get back in the van,
Right.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It was, as far as recording remotely, it was one of the first albums where we did send stuff back and forth, whereas the last two full lengths were kind of, you live in this one studio for a week or two and you do it all there. This reminds me more of like reading about Artifact by STS9. Like, I don't know if it was the liner notes. It says they wrote it in studios, in the back of buses, in green rooms.
Right.
And it was fun to kind of explore that. And like, you could send Luke a track. He could do a bass track in Beeman's basement where he is right there. And it's opened up a lot of doors. We're really excited about, exploring new avenues of working and collaborating remotely in the future, because we can get a lot done.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I feel like, it's one of those skills that you're going to be able to put to great use in the future, work faster, more effectively and get more done. And it's a true testament to all three of you that you were able to knock this out in these circumstances, at the speed that you were able to, and also for it to sound the way it does. Man, this record just knocks. And Rory, man, the blend of programmed drums, I've said it to you before, but the blend of programmed drums and the programming and the kit is just seamless. It's one sound. It's super unique. So congratulations to you guys. We're going to talk more in a little bit, but we got more of this record to get to. And before we do, I think there's another special guest who wants to jump in.
Hey, it's Karina Reichman, and, this new Lespecial tune, if this is a jam song, I might as well be an astronaut. But, there is no jam song. It's just songs that you jam. I can't wait to hear them play this live and hear it sound exactly the same. But it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
time.
What up, Lespecial crew? What's up, my eclectic brothers? This is Zion I blasting off live, man, from Oakland, California, man. Sending a shout out on the new shit, you know what I'm saying? Man, I can't wait to see y'all again, man. This pandemic got me fucked up, as I'm sure it has you in a bad situation in terms of getting on the stage and rocking out. But we'll see each other soon, man. Y'all stay easy. God bless, man. I love y'all, man. Peace.
Must be nice for you guys to hear from Zion I, right? One of your collaborators backed him up on tour. Is that right, Johnny?
Yeah, we had a blast out of the road with him being his backing band, went all over the country. He's a deep dude, taught us a lot.
Oh, man, must make you miss the road, though. Bet you can't wait to be playing this material live, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, if you just tuned in on the interwebs, I'm Ari, and this is the Lespecial live listening party. We're psyched you're here. We got a couple more tracks to get to on the brand new record, which is going to be available everywhere mañana, I believe, or by now, depending on when you're watching. Let's dive into what we just heard. Machine Elf, Egg Time, Homie Numero Trace. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. Let's start with Machine Elf, which took the trippiness to another level entirely, Johnny.
Yeah. Shout out Terrence McKenna, The Other Realms, Other Dimensions, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, we like that song. We like playing that song live. Shout out Ghostmane. He was a big influence on the 808 distorted kick drum in that track. He has a track called Mercury. Y'all should go listen to it. Ghostmane's Mercury track. It really knocks.
And any other inspirations? You want to tell a story about how that song came together, Machine Elf?
Man, lyrically, sonically, yeah, we were trying to have that heavy kind of trap, psychedelic trap music, if that's a thing.
Let's make it a thing. If it's not a thing, let's make it a thing.
Oh, it's a thing.
Yes.
Tag it on Spotify as psychedelic trap. But I don't know. I'm super interested in like listening to lectures about psychedelics and the other realms and sort of behind the veil, behind the curtain, which was sort of something we talked about when making the album. Seeing parts unknown, cosmic themes. Don't want to pin it down too much, though. We were talking before about adding lyrics can expand a song, but I think it can also pin it down. So we try to kind of ride the line where we're painting an atmosphere and a picture, not being too preachy or whatever.
But definitely taking you somewhere else entirely.
Hope so.
For sure. So mission accomplished on that front. And then Egg Time we heard, and that was recorded, Rory, tell us again, at the Music Cellar, right?
Yeah, that was recorded at our studio, Johnny's Space in Millerton, New York, the Music Cellar, music school and studio that Johnny runs. We've been super blessed to be able to use that these last 9 months. I don't know what we'd be doing without it. But yeah, that song came together. Originally, John and I did some tracking for that in his bedroom. I remember just with the drum pad, and then it was a track in Ableton for a little bit, and then we eventually added some live instruments to it in the Music Cellar, kind of as a group. I think we added the live instruments last, if I'm not mistaken.
Chuck from Dopapod, because I think he lent us he gave Luke a distortion pedal that we ran Luke's microcord through.
Ah, yeah.
With that really crunchy, fucked up Sam I Am type sound. So shout out Chuck.
That's
Nice.
the Pigtronics fuzz.
Pigtronics. We actually lost it, Pigtronics. So I know you've been giving Soul Live mad free pedals. So if you want to throw us one of those bass distortion pedals, to play Egg Time live.
Send them the pedals.
And then also just on Egg Time, I got to shout out Johnny throwing all the egg samples in there. Every time you hear not every snare hit, but some of them, the choice snare hits are a fucking egg being cracked on a frying pan. Egg Time is kind of like a joke between us and our friend Supercilious. Whenever we get together at the Music Cellar, there's Irving Farms. I guess I'll give them a shout out. They stopped serving breakfast at 12. So Egg Time is breakfast, and if you miss Egg Time, then no eggs for you that day.
Oh, man, that is so funny. That's hilarious. And we should talk about Homie Numero Trace as well. Homie's blurring into one. There have been samples on all three of these interludes, and I want you guys to trace them for us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Like we were talking about, how do we make these three interludes cohesive and tell a story? And using that musical vocabulary and that Snell scale modality did that musically, but obviously there weren't lyrics or vocals written for them. So yeah, I mean, that's just another example of us loving weird, obscure sci-fi and horror movies and integrating them into that to kind of tell a story. One of the movies there, one of them is that was featured in Homie Numero Uno, is The Thing from Another World, 1951. It's the movie that The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, is based on, or is a reboot or remake of. And the other two homie tracks featured this like obscure 60s sci-fi movie that my dad showed me called Quatermass in the Pit. And not many people know about this movie. It's pretty weird. But it has to do with kind of like in England in the 60s, like they're digging the tube or their subway and they're unearthing these like ancient primordial alien species that have been there, like embedded in the dirt. And so that kind of theme of just like ancient, unearthing ancient secrets was a vibe for us. And so we would kind of combine some of the samples together to make it almost sound kind of like a conversation. But so those are some of the more obscure ones, but we kind of just like that old 50s sci-fi sound. Like Rory could talk a little bit about like some of the other samples. He's a Twilight Zone boy, so he's always got the Twilight Zone samples on the SPDS, which we used on like Tom Berry and stuff.
Yeah, so on Tonberry, Twilight Zone, the episode, it's season 1, episode 22, and the monsters are due on Maple Street. If you haven't checked it out, it's a great Twilight Zone. But yeah, the samples from the middle of that are from that episode. And yeah, it's basically like about this mass hysteria, about like this monster on Maple Street, and just like the panic that ensues on this street. So those are great samples. And we've used Twilight Zone on a couple other things in the past, but then the other sample that I contributed to Snell's is my boy Jack Nicholson, the Joker from 1989 Batman. That's the laugh you hear on Snell's.
It's iconic, dude. It's iconic.
Iconic.
I love it. When
my
you're
boy
watching
Jack.
when you're watching these Twilight Zones, it's one of those things that even as a kid you heard it and you were like, I'm gonna use that one day, or do you circle back to it when you're making the record?
Yeah, I sometimes circle back. Like I'll have a page, I'll have a Batman 89 page, or I'll have a TZ Twilight Zone page, and I'll just dump these samples on my pad. And then, I mean, it did actually happen pretty organically when I first started playing those samples in Tomberry when we were writing it. Just so happened we liked them. We're like, yeah, let's definitely use those. Same thing with Nicholson on Snell's. I just had it there and I played it kind of just like it was another instrument within the pad. And we just were like, yeah, let's keep those.
That's awesome, man. I want you guys to also tell us a little bit about the score for that source material episode on Vice. Luke, you mentioned that was a really fun project.
Yeah, man, that was a very cool project that we were able to just kind of let the cat out of the bag when the episode premiered last week. It's called Source Material. It's a web series on Vice. It's really incredible. It's all found footage, so cell phone footage or just like boots on the ground angle, and every episode has a different kind of global crisis issue or something like that. And my friend Alex Megaro, shout out, who I went to Long Island University with, who's an incredibly talented filmmaker, hit us up about it, and we were in a position to work on a film score for it. So we scored the 4th episode, I believe, in the series. It's called Wildfires, and it's all about Australia's bushfire season, the 2018-2019 season, which was the most intense bushfire season ever had. So it was pretty intense, like for hours every day, kind of watching these like Australian vloggers, like it's getting really hot in here, and like kind of like the intensity mounting up. And so yeah, we got to record a lot of different stuff. Some of it we sent to Vice, and we got the approval, which was awesome, but they were like, yeah, this is too like heavy and scary. So we kind of toned it back a bit. But what's cool is that we have all of this recorded footage, or all of these different song ideas and concepts based on this film score. And so maybe we'll look into releasing that as its own kind of EP one day. But for anybody else who wants to check out our original film score, you can go to Vice's YouTube channel. It's called Wildfires. It's got like 90,000 views already, just because they have 15 million subscribers. But yeah, check it out. It's an incredible series. So it was cool to be a part of something that was so powerful and moving like that.
That's awesome. If the climate change situation gets worse, maybe you guys can put that doom, scary vibe to good use and start grabbing some footage and waking people up.
Yeah, man.
People to what's going on.
Yeah, that song I mentioned earlier, the new song we're working on, sort of loose theme is like the lungs of the planet are currently burning, the rainforests. And so, yeah, good call, Ari.
Something to think about for the future. Another artist that you guys collaborated with on the album, the great Billy Martin, drummer from MMW, who's an incredible artist. He's known for all those very tribal figures and those, they're simple and they're really cool and they do look ancient. They kind of fit into your aesthetic perfectly. I love that you guys tapped Billy for some of his artwork.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there they are. We he did some artwork for our album Omni Squid. We linked up with Billy before that. Just musically, we've actually played in some of his percussion ensembles before. We're a huge fan of his art, his music, everything about him. And for the Omni Squid party, we actually invited him to an art gallery in Kent, our hometown, and he did a solo drum performance. He led us in a percussion ensemble. He sat in with us on some Afrobeat. But yeah, we love his art. The MMW logos is like one of our favorite logos, just that simplicity. But I mean, we call them the Omni Squid. We call them the Illy B homies. Like, so the homies have been around. And so, yeah, we wanted to incorporate them into Ancient Homies. So we've got the homies making an appearance back there. And yeah, it's just an honor to collaborate with him in any respect.
I've seen MMW quite a number of times. They're probably the band that I've seen more than any band.
Yeah, we used to skip school to like hitch the train to New York City and go see them in like 2005 and maybe even earlier.
That's what's up. I love it. I love to hear it. Yeah, those guys are legends. I'm wondering, do you guys have anything to do with that metal statue that showed up in the desert in Utah recently and then vanished?
Yeah, we dropped that there.
I knew it. And now it's in Romania. It showed up in Romania just the other day.
Is it the same one or a different?
No, it's not the same one, but there are themes on it that are similar.
Well, that's good. That's where we sent it. So.
Yo, this is Ancient Homies shit right here, man. We got monoliths showing up in the deserts. They're going to have some like ancient writing inscripted on there. Maybe it's the tabs to Tom Berry.
I think it
could. I mean, if you press the right spot, all of a sudden the Snell's, the three notes just.
Yes, the Snell scale. Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Has anyone put the Snell scale on Wikipedia yet?
Good question. Johnny did a guitar lesson. We all teach private lessons, and Johnny was doing a guitar lesson. Shout out Johnny's student and Lespecial fan Aiden. And so I saw you teaching him the Snell scale. So hopefully, man, I've taught it to some of my bass students. Hopefully, you're just gonna start to hear this weird kind of atonal chromatic scale pop off. We're gonna hear like Adele singing in like chromatic groups of thirds from now on. This might be the future of music, man. I don't know.
It's like the NBC chimes, except it's the Snell scale. This is going to be you guys. I'm telling you.
Well, Ari, we do a cover of the T-Mobile theme song. It's not what you think. Yeah. Like we just took the bum 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 and made it a thrash metal song.
Yes.
And we actually recorded a version at Potterville when we were there for sessions for Ancient Homies. So I have that somewhere. We could try mixing it. But yeah, shout out Potterville. That's where we recorded with Jamie Saft. A lot of the tracks on the album. He's the homie, jazz pianist, master musician. He's got a huge ZZ Top beard. He's the man. Let us just, rip bongs and jam in his studio all night. If you don't know Jamie Saft, check him out. He's the only dude who ever sat in with Bad Brains. He's done work for Fish and the Beasties. So yeah, that's where we recorded. We do have a version of T-Mobile we did with him that I should dig up and send you guys and see how it is.
There are brands and there are bands and there are entities out there who are searching for their audio logos for an entire lifetime. And you guys have it sitting right there. It's your audio logo. I'm telling you, use it a million different ways. Snell's scale.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, we just got to find the right way to get it out there, because when we were on tour with Lotus last year, we would play that every night, and some Lotus fans weren't really feeling the T-Mobile double time thrash.
So funny. Oh man, T-Mobile, that's classic. Well, before we get to the last two tracks on the record, I want to find out a little bit about what the future holds for Lespecial, what you guys have planned next year, the year beyond. I know it's hard to say, and of course you want to get out there and play live and play this music live. So is it safe to say that once it's safe, you'll be out there road dogging it, touring everywhere and anywhere?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, we're ready to do it. We've been playing a lot of music on our own, and we're ready. We missed that live music connection with our fans in a big way. I mean, we're super fortunate, even though the music industry has been going through all this crazy shit and all these changeovers and everything. We linked up with Royal Artist Group, who's our booking agency now, and we're like super stoked to be working with them. I mean, they have Grammy award-winning artists on there with Christian Scott and Snarky Puppy and Ghost Note and all these guys. So we're really excited to play shows like on that agency. But also, we would love to be able to take some of these concepts that we've been working on with the film score and kind of taking the live show up to a new level, you know, and how else can we incorporate other media and more of a cinematic experience into these shows. So, you know, hopefully when it comes back in a capacity, we'll be able to kind of do something fresh with it. And yeah, man, I mean, we missed the fuck out of it for sure.
I love that. I love to hear it. And not to mention Rope-A-Dope. I mean, it's an iconic label, has worked with some of our favorite artists. It's amazing, you know, for them to be putting out this record, for you guys to be working with them. I love the pairing. How do you think that the album will impact your creative process going forward?
I think we're, like we said before, we've explored new recording techniques, you know, taking chunks of improvised jams and then layering on top of those to make it more through composed. That was like such a exciting way to compose that we'd never, usually when we write songs, we get together, hang out, and we play and we riff off each other. But there's so many possibilities that we've opened with this record of, like I said, taking improvs and making them into songs or sending each other ideas remotely. So I'm excited about just writing and creating more cool stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like, there's something about putting out a set of songs and like a complete work that kind of like you take a deep breath. You're like, okay, cool, on to the next one. So like we're already working on new ideas for the next record, and it feels really good to just like have that be to be realized. You know what I mean? And kind of like close that chapter a little bit and move on.
Well said. I'm psyched. I'm psyched to hear the new stuff now that I know where this is at, and I'm hearing this for the first couple times. I can't wait to hear the next stuff. Luke, what can you tell me about Tritome and Boundary Dissolution?
Ooh. Well, it's wild. You know, Boundary Dissolution is like the oldest track on the record. It's a track that Johnny wrote and made a demo for years ago. We released a mix of this on our SoundCloud. I want to say in like 2016, right? 2016, 17, sometime around then.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's a track that it's more of like a trip hop, kind of like minimal hip hop electronic vibe that fans really like. We didn't play it live a lot. It was kind of always, I found I had trouble kind of putting this song in a live context. I think, like, to me, this is like a, you know, blunt ride headphone track. You know what I mean? Like, it's than our typical like kind of heavy live shit. But I gotta say, you know, it fit the aesthetic of this record more. And when we gave it to our mixing engineer, Dave Sanchez, because, you know, we recorded this, like we said, in a couple different studios remotely, things like that. But Dave Sanchez mixed the entire album remotely. And he just did such an incredible job. Like with Snell's Fleet, like he brought that heaviness and that sonic Tool level to a vibe that we hadn't really reached before. But even with Boundary Dissolution, like it just slaps. And like I remember hearing it on headphones and I was like, whoa, I forgot this was the bass I recorded for this. Like I actually fuck with this. So it's cool. Like a couple of like the press copies we sent out, some people have hit us back and said it's their favorite track on the album, which is super cool. And I just love that it's like a come down track. It feels like to me, like at the end of a fucking crazy experience, you back in the car with the homies. It has that vibe of the album for me, but it's a Johnny track, so he could talk about it. And Tritome is just him and Rory. So what can I say about that, really?
Said it about Boundaries. Tritome was the Steinway that Luke slept under at Jamie Saff's studio.
I was asleep while they recorded it, actually. I just slept through my alarm.
Added to the atmospherics of the whole thing.
Yeah. And it's
Steinway and some brushes.
Boom.
It's a melody from Snell's Fleet, from the middle section of Snell's Fleet. We like to kind of reprise melodies throughout the albums like we did on Omni Squid with Absolutely Stunning and Ships in the Night, I guess it was.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, thematic continuity.
Yep. I love to hear it. I'm glad you brought it up. I thought that was the case. Anything else that you guys want to say to your fans, everybody viewing at home, before we get to these last two tracks?
Just thank you guys so freaking much, man, for the support throughout this crazy time. We wish that we could be fist bumping all you guys and being weirdos on the road with you, but the support, we're so grateful for our fans, and we're so amped to give our fans what we feel is our best product we've ever made. Y'all deserve this shit. This is for you. And thank you, Ari. It's been fucking awesome hanging with you, man. We really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I'm super stoked to be here. I'm super stoked to be meeting all the Lespecial fans out there. When we can go see live music again, we can turn it up live. Super proud of you guys. The record sounds amazing. And I think Chuck from Lotus will have the final word here before we get to the last two songs. Chuck, go.
Hey, Chuck, aren't you in the jam band?
Oh, this is a B-man band. Since Brownie started calling him B-man, we thought there's the band is a whole new thing. We got Rory D, Johnny G, and Luke B all in the same power trio.
Oh.
And so they're doing a whole new thing, a whole new class. But if you don't believe me, you check this song out called Boundary Disillusion.
If you look at thousands of these experiences, they dissolve boundaries. They dissolve boundaries between you and your past, you and the part of your unconscious you don't want to look at.
I've been living in. I need to find a way that I can feel again and see from my deepest within. A thick gray fog that I've been pushing through. I need to extricate all of this residue now. I'm reaching out. Someone tell me where the door to this room is. I've been here too long in all the things I've missed. When your eyes are closed, you don't live like you could. Bliss awaits you if you stray into the woods. Feel it snaking through, in between the roots. They tangle round and round, till they pull this whole mountain from the ground. Shake off the rust. Welcome home, my friend. How we've missed you so. Please don't leave again. Stay where the boundaries around things fade. Someone tell me where the door to this room is. I've been here too long in all the things I've missed. When your eyes are closed, you don't live like you could. Bliss awaits you if you stray into the woods. I wake up alone. I've reassumed my form. I thought I'd cast aside the thick black shell I wore. No, don't make me go back inside. Someone tell me where the door to this room is. I've been here too long in all the things I've missed. When your eyes are closed, you don't live like you could. Bliss awaits you if you stray into the woods.
All the boundaries that we put up to keep ourselves from feeling our circumstance are dissolved. And boundary dissolution is the most threatening activity that can go on in a society.
But seriously, I love Lespecial, the ultimate homies, always bringing something fresh to our scene. It's why I funk with them. It's why we have them on Dome Fest. And seriously, the new album is straight fire. Great job, boys.
Hey, this is Mike Dillon. I'm out here in the country, day after Thanksgiving, and I want to give thanks to the boys in Lespecial. They are some fiery individuals that love all kinds of music. And most importantly, I've watched them grow a lot since we started touring together and running into each other over the years. So they got a new record coming out. I'm really excited for them. And, you know, as most of you know, they like to do different things, like score weird movies. Hell, they might even like do a Primus song along the way. So check out Lespecial. Aw, yeah.
Hey, this is David Sanchez from Havoc, and that new Lespecial record is ripping and rocking and rolling. The three-man symphony is on fire. If you see them burst into flames, grab a fire extinguisher.
Hey, this is Will Hansa from Escaper. Lespecial has made a great record. It evokes the power of a band like Tool, the delicacy of a band like Radiohead, and the danceability of a band like Jamiroquai, yet they have defined their own sound. It's one that leads to introspection as well as a celebration of one's own being. I'm proud to call them Rope-A-Dope Brothers.
Vibes.
Is Lespecial a jam band? Short version, I'd have to say that's a negative, Ghost Rider. But no longer want to use jam band as a pejorative. As Adam Smirnoff once told me, jam band these days refers more so to the audience than to the band or music. And I'd have to concur. That said, I think Lespecial is more like if you gave the Cro-Mags, Machine Head, Biohazard, The Cure, Radiohead, and Mastodon records to Amon Tobin and about between 200 and 300 mics and told them to get busy.
Well, they've done it again. Ancient Homies absolutely crushes, and I cannot wait to see this live.
What's up, guys? Dr. Remedies here. In review is Lespecial's new album, Ancient Homies. Yo, I give it 5 stars. 5 stars in a joint. Absolute favorite album they've released so far, and Sheen was fire. My favorites are Toneberry and Egg Time, although all the other songs, like Machine Elf and The Vessel that they've played before, it's like never heard before up on the new album. Totally worth a listen.
Ancient Homies is a vibe. I would say if 9 Inch Nails and Radiohead had a baby, pretty cool.
Just finished listening to Ancient Homies, and these guys have done it again. It has that signature and familiar Lespecial sound, while simultaneously every track is exciting and fresh. Well done, boys.
Ancient Homies is ingenious, heavy, unique, technical, crunch, thick, sludge. Ancient Homies.
Yeah, they were like, you could be at the end of the video, like, who's gonna watch that? Was